Meet the new daily driver. What's up everyone, Tech Mindset here. In today's video, we're checking out the Logitech MX Mechanical keyboard. Be sure to leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. At the time of this video, this keyboard can be found on Logitech's site for $169.99 in 3 switch styles: clicky, tactile quiet, and linear. In addition, you can also opt for a mini version for $149.99. For me, I opted for the full-size keyboard because I like having the number pad for typing numbers in Excel and calculator. For regular use for work and typing, I prefer clicky switches, and for gaming, I switched to my tried and true linear switch keyboard. My previous daily driver, the Logitech G613, ticked a lot of boxes for me. It was large enough to have all the keys in a wireless frame. It allowed me to switch between the USB dongle and Bluetooth, so I could use it on my PC and with the push of a button, use it on my laptop. Is that coming through? It's so old, there's like something trapped in there. It's like a little shaker thing. However, compared to my Cherry MX Brown switch, Logitech G710 Plus, the Roamer G switches on the G613 were stiffer and it wasn't as enjoyable to type on in my experience. I stuck with it as my daily driver because I could switch devices with the push of a button. With the built-in wrist rest, I could pick up and move the entire keyboard as the situation required, the only trade-off being then was its size. With the changing work environment over the last couple of years, I needed something that was mechanical, but was easy to switch from my desktop to my work computer, and that's where the G613 fit that role pretty well until now. The MX Mechanical, like the G613, feels very sturdy in hand and didn't have any flex from what I could tell. Since it's a thin profile keyboard, it was comfortable for me to type on without having a wrist rest. Something else I like is that when I punch the keys, it sounds solid compared to the G613, which has a hollow metallic sound. Let me see if I can get this on camera too. Do you hear that? Do you hear that metallic sound? It's so annoying, it's like it's hollow. You can also flip out the little feet and raise the keyboard if you prefer. Something I really like about this keyboard is it has 3 dedicated keys to connect 3 different devices. I have it set up so that the first button is the Bolt USB dongle, and then I can switch to Bluetooth connections for the other 2. At the push of a button, I can switch between computers, and I've noticed that this keyboard connects via Bluetooth faster than the G613 did, which allows for me to switch back and forth faster. It also doesn't have a dedicated column of macro keys compared to a gaming keyboard. Honestly though, I don't think I've ever purposely used the macro keys on gaming keyboards. To me, I prefer not to have them, but that's just me. You might be different. Since this is a keyboard aimed at office use, I like having some extra keys and extra key functions for things like opening the calculator, adjusting the brightness of the laptop, as well as a push of a button to lock the computer for when I want to step away. The other thing about the keys is that the Start and the Alt buttons show the Mac OS labels, which is nice for me when I use it with my MacBook Pro. Logitech has a companion app for this keyboard called Logi Options Plus. One downside of this keyboard is that there are no dedicated indicator LEDs for caps lock, num lock, and scroll lock. However, Options Plus can be set to display a brief pop-up on your screen to let you know if you hit one of those keys. I did notice that the keyboard will briefly light up the caps lock key when you press it, but it doesn't stay on for long. In the Options Plus app, you can change settings of the keyboard, see the status, and it allows you to create smart actions which appear to be automations that you can record and run at the push of a button. I haven't tried smart actions at this point, so I can't speak to them, but I'll have to try them out sometime. Leave a comment if that's something you'd like to see in the future. There are downsides to using this keyboard though. I do need to criticize the decision Logitech made with the layout because the right click has been moved from being where the right of the keyboard is to above the number row. And you have to use the function key in order to use it. I do use the right click key in my workflow from time to time. In addition, I don't know why they couldn't have just added the usual spacing between the number row and the function row. The lack of that gap takes some getting used to, especially as I switch between this keyboard and my gaming keyboard. I also miss having dedicated buttons for the volume and media controls. The media playback and mute buttons share with the F keys, and the volume down key shares the button with the LED button. Speaking of the LED button, it'll switch between the lighting modes, and you have to use F3 and F4 to adjust the LED brightness. You can also go into the Options Plus app to toggle or adjust the LED backlighting. I'll talk more about the LED lighting in a little bit. Typing on the MX Mechanical took some getting used to with the thinner profile keys and how different the keys felt compared to my other mechanical keyboards. While there is a click with the switches, it seems to be quieter than the clicky switches on something like my Razer Black Widow keyboard. In fact, the G613 sounded louder to type on compared to this one. Coming back to the lighting, this keyboard has a battery saving feature that will turn off the lights when you're not by the keyboard and turn them back on again when you bring your hands up to type on it. However, the lights turn off pretty quick, and in a dark room, it's hard to find the keyboard again, so I'd wish the lights would stay on much longer. I initially planned this video soon after unboxing this keyboard, but I focused on other videos for the time being. Something that's become apparent after owning this keyboard for a year is that there's an issue with the backlighting sensor. Even when I walk away from my desk and I come back later, the LEDs don't seem to have turned off. I've read that this might have something to do with dust under the keys that are affecting the sensor. I've tried cleaning and blowing out the dust on the keyboard, and it doesn't seem like it helps much, so I don't like the battery life being wasted like that. When you're not using the backlighting, the other problem is that the labels on the keycaps are harder to see compared to the thicker characters on my other keyboards. Speaking of battery, Logitech claims up to 15 days on a full charge with backlighting turned on, or up to 10 months with the lighting turned off. I do have concerns of the longevity of this keyboard because it uses a built-in battery as opposed to AA batteries. I suppose if you're willing to risk it, you can find a replacement battery. I found a post about the mini version of this keyboard that shows the battery compartment is under the sticker, and I'm assuming the same would hold true for the full-size version. The keyboard does have a USB-C port, but it only supports charging, so if the wireless connections die for whatever reason, you're just screwed. I also do worry about the switches on all Logitech products because, as I've stated in a prior video, all my old Logitech mice have succumbed to a double click issue, and even the G613 I showed earlier was a replacement because the original one that I bought suffered from a key chattering issue which would register multiple presses as I was typing on certain keys. Time will tell as this keyboard ages. Switching gears, here's a sound comparison between the keys. The only mechanical keyboard I couldn't test here was my Corsair Strafe RGB because it was plugged into my computer. It's a linear switch keyboard that's mainly used for gaming. First up is the MX Mechanical with clicky switches. Next is the Logitech G613 with tactile switches. Next up is the Razer Black Widow with clicky switches, and I believe these are the older style switches that they had before they changed them. So I think that'll make a difference with the sound if you have a newer one. This is the Logitech G710 Plus with Cherry MX brown switches. Finally, I thought it would be fun to try an old wireless keyboard that you usually see in the office, and no thank you. In conclusion, the lack of a gap between the number row and the function row is strange to me, and the movement of the right click key to a different position is also really annoying. However, for the price range, it's not a bad option and it feels okay to type on. A full-size low-profile keyboard that has a USB dongle plus Bluetooth and all the dedicated keys would be something more expensive like the Logitech G915 Lightspeed and the Corsair K100 Air Wireless RGB. If I didn't opt for the MX Mechanical, I might have considered something from a company like Keychron as an alternative, but my main objective for this purchase was having a USB dongle plus Bluetooth, and the MX Mechanical fit that bill. Be sure to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, and check out this other video that YouTube thinks you'll really like. That's all for this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.